Hi, and thank you so much for joining me for today's process video. And today, once again, I'm using Vicki Boutin's Bold and Bright, and once again, I'm documenting our trip to New York City last December. So today, the photos are of the Magnolia Bakery and Amelia and I enjoying banana pudding from there. We'd heard lots about it online, so decided to give it a go. So I've got 4 photos printed in 3x4, and I'm just matting them onto some plain white cardstock. Well, I say white, this is some offcuts that I got from a supplier, and it's actually an off-white, but it's fine. I'm going to add some mixed media to the background, and you won't really notice that it's not quite as white as the background once everything's down. So I try and use what I can where I can and reduce waste, so that's why I'm using this. So just getting that last strip of card and adding that photo to that. So Magnolia Bakery is next door or very near to Radio City in New York City. If you've been before, you'll know. And I'd read online about horrendous queues and how amazing this banana pudding was. But we'd gone to Radio City to book our tickets for the Rockettes. And then afterwards we spotted it, and the boys had to go back to our hotel, which was very local. So Amelia and I decided that we'd go and get our banana pudding. There was no queue. Well, there was a tiny queue, but it was, a minute, 2 minutes to wait. And then we got it and just went outside and devoured it. It was delicious. We did save some for James, so he did get to try it as well. But it was really nice. Not sure that I would have it again now we've had it, but it was really nice to try it and experience that. So you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, I have pulled out some of the bits and pieces from the collection. I've got that lovely papery banner that I want to use as a mat for my photos at the top. And then at the bottom, I'm just playing around with some bits and pieces to add to those bottom 2 photos of the actual banana pudding itself. I've got a label that I'd stamped off camera previously. I've got a big stack of them using my LE Studio label stamp, which is wonderful. And then I've got this lovely little floral sprig. I just really like the colours, so I'm adding that to the right. And I've got that lovely happiness flashcard, which I thought would work nicely as well. That sweet is one of our Hey Little Magpie fabric canvas flare. And so I'm adding that because it was very sweet, this banana pudding. And as you can see, I've added a tab at the top to add my date to, which is what I always do. So I'm just going to stick these down as a cluster, and then I can pull them up and add my mixed media to the background. So I'm just playing around with the bits and pieces. I've used the number 2 because it was just the 2 of us, so I thought that would work. And you can see I'm pulling out the greens and teals for this cluster at the top. I will bring in a little bit of pink with that flare badge and some other bits just to match the title, which is So Freaking Happy. So now I'm going around with my pencil just to mark out where this is going to go, and then I can add my mixed media without wasting time putting it behind where it doesn't need to be, and also making sure that it comes out far enough. I have a tendency to create quite a small mixed media cluster, and then when I add all my bits, it's completely covered. So I didn't want it to come too far out, but I didn't want it to be hidden. So hence the pencil mark and sticking everything together as a cluster. So now I've done the top, I'm just going to do the same at the bottom. Just roughly going around these photos and the bits and pieces, just so that I can see where everything sits. Just a bit fiddly around this flower, but I do get it done. And it's just very rough, making sure that the pencil lines are well inside the bits that are going to sit on top of it. And I'm going to pull out a Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous stencil, and it's a hexagon one. I don't know why, I just thought that would go really nicely with the pictures. So I'm using a yellow coloured pad, I think it's scattered straw, and just pushing this through the stencil just so that I get a little bit of a halo around the bits that are going on the page. So you can see it's a great repeating pattern, so very easy to move along. Just line up with the previous hexagons and then add it all the way around my pencil marks. And I'm using different pressures, and I'm not dabbing off the ink first so that I do get some darker spots. I really like the look of that, so that was my reasoning when doing this. If you wanted it a more even blend, you're best just tapping your brush off onto a scrap of card or something before going in with your stencil brush, and that just creates a more even blend. So just checking that I've done enough and that I'm happy with how this all looks. bringing those pieces back in, and then I can work on the bottom. So very happy with how that looks. So onto the bottom now. I want to make sure there's some to the right of that floral cluster. And going up above the photos. And I don't want to go too high up because I don't want the two sections to meet. I want it to be a clear defining point between the top strip of photos and the bottom strip of photos. I just like how that looks on the page. So I think that's the inking done, and then I'm going to carry on. I want to add some splatters, so I'm bringing in spice marmalade. I think this one is. It could be dried marigold. Just a nice orange for contrast, and just adding some big splotches all the way around with that. And I will leave this to dry naturally when I've added everything. Just adding plenty of water to make sure that it flicks on the paper and not absolutely everywhere else. If you try to flick too vigorously, I think that's when you tend to get it everywhere all over your scrap room. So these are the direction stamps from Hey Little Magpie, and I'm using the little hexagon cluster just to match the hexagons on the stencil that I used. And I'm using my archive link so that if I do decide to come in with more splatters, it won't smudge. In fact, I don't come in with any more splatters. This is the end. But you do get a nice crisp image when you're using the archive link. So just twisting the stamp around, making sure that the point of the hexagon points up, the same as it does on the stencil, and just adding that all around the edges of the photos and the photo mat that's going to be there. And sometimes I'm using second generational stamping so that it's slightly lighter than the first one. It's just to add depth to the page. Almost there now. And some of this will be covered up, of course, but it just peeks out around and creates a bit of interest there, rather than just being stenciling and splatters. So now that that mixed media is done, I can add these back down onto the page. So the pencil lines help me to make sure that it goes back where it was in the first place. So just adding this. This is going to be for my journaling. I wanted to make sure that I had a space here for my journaling. Just spotted a little pencil mark there, so just rubbing that out and checking that that's straight, and then I can add the title. And I love the way that title brings a nice pop of colour up to the top, because these photos are pretty plain, and it adds a little bit of interest there. So just going to get this banner stuck down. Managed to get ATG all over the top once again. And I don't know whether you can see, but the cakes are in lovely colourful wrappers in the counter there. So some of them that lovely hot pink, and that's why I chose that title. And then just bringing the pink to the top with this tab, and also with that bulldog clip. So just using my wet glue to stick that down, and then I can move down to the bottom and get that sorted. So here are the bottom pieces, and then just going to go back exactly as they were. Adding that floral piece. I don't know why I felt the need to glue that to the photo. Really, those photos should have just gone straight down, because there's not much else to do. So just getting all of this glued. See, now I start gluing it to the base. So I don't know why I didn't put those photos down in the first place. There we go. Decide to do it. I think sometimes you get caught up in what you're doing, and because that's how I normally start these clusters, I just did it even though there was no need. So adding these two little bits to the bottom. One is Life is Pretty Good, and that's from one of the ephemera packs. And then Best in Show is one of those washi stickers from the papery pack. And then I felt I just wanted something to the right hand side of the photos. It wasn't quite balanced for me. I think because of the big banner that I've got in the top right, I felt I needed something else at the top here. So I'm bringing in that lovely paper clip from another Vicki Boutin collection. And then I find this little heart, but I decided to add that to the top to take that orange up to the top. Realise that that's not stuck down, so just getting that flare badge stuck. And then I want to add some wax twine to that bulldog clip, just again to provide a little different texture on the page and just to add some interest, so that draws your eye down towards the bottom to see the other two photos as well. So I fiddle around with this for quite a while trying to work out how to get it to sit. I will trim off the length, it's a little bit too long, and then just add a dot of glue to keep it in place underneath that flare badge there. So there we go. So now I'm going to add my journaling, and it's just what I said at the beginning of the video about where it is and why we went. And then my date, of course, at the top on that tab. And then this is where I pull out the rest of the ephemera pieces and papery pieces, and I straight away find this card and decide that that's what I need to add to the right hand side here. It's a little bit long and I didn't want to lose the hello bit at the bottom of it, so I'm just going to trim that hello piece off. I try and glue it down first of all, but decide trim that off, add the card to the right hand side here. And I was a bit sad that I was covering up all of that mixed media that I was peeking out above those flowers, because it did look really nice, but it was definitely the right thing to do. It adds more balance and just builds that cluster out that little bit more. So you can see here I'm just using that hello piece at the bottom of the cluster, and again, like I say, it's just building it out. I wanted something to draw the eye across the page, and I did put this pencil down, which again is a washi sticker from the papery pack, but I wasn't quite happy with it. I couldn't put my finger on what it was, whether it's just because it was a bit too random for my photos or what, but I'd stick that down first of all, but keep looking through to see what else I can add. I find this little circle that I'd fussy cut from the other paper the other day, so I'm just going to bring that orange up to the top so that mirrors the heart in the bottom left hand corner. And then I find this washi sticker, and these circles are much more in keeping with the layout, and I'm much happier with those. So I end up peeling that pencil up and sticking these down in its place. And it does look so much better. I don't know whether it didn't help that I put that pencil at an angle. I don't know quite what I was thinking, but I wanted to leave that bit in to show you that sometimes things don't work. I hate waste, I hate throwing things away, but that pencil just wasn't going to work on this layout, so there was no point in trying to save it. So these are going down in its place, and that looks so much better, doesn't it? So now adding another tab at the top here. It's the one that I'd cut from that other tag. They came as a set of two, glued together, well, not glued together, they were printed together. And I'm just going to find a sticker to add on to the top of that, because I've already got my date at the top of the page. So try that one first of all, but I'm not happy with it at all. And then I spot this one that says a sweet treat. So I'm going to add that to the left because that's way too big for that tab. And then I find this one that says like it. So it does overlap the tab ever so slightly. So I'm just going to add a little gold heart to the right, just to balance that out. And then I spot this little gold dot, so I add that, and then a butterfly at the top. And that's the layout done. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you very soon. Bye.